The last way we're going to talk about factoring is by using the process called factoring by grouping. Okay, we have already actually used this process when we were factoring out ax squared plus bx plus c. We used this process before where we split the bx and made it ax squared plus b1x plus b2x, where we found the factors, plus c, and then we grouped them. It's the same idea as what we did here, and then we factor. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to extend it to larger polynomials. So we're going to do some examples of factoring polynomials by grouping. So we have 3x cubed plus 12x squared plus 2x minus 8. So I'm going to group 3x cubed minus 12x squared plus 2x minus 8. And then I'm going to factor out what I can factor out. So if I look here, what can I factor out of both of those? I can take out a 3, and both of these have an x squared in them. So I can take out an x squared, leaving me with x minus 4. And then if I look at the next part, I have a 2x and I have a minus 8, so that means I can take out a 2 out of both of them. So I'm going to factor out a 2, leaving me with x minus 4. So you should note that these should be the same now, and then I can pull those out, leaving me with x minus 4 times 3x squared plus 2, and that would be your final answer. This next example, I have 8x cubed plus 14x squared plus 20x plus 35. So I'm going to group 8x cubed plus 14x squared and plus 20x plus 35. So what do I have in common in both of these? Well, they're both even, so I can pull out a 2. And they both have an x squared in them, so I'm going to pull out an x squared. That'll leave me with 4x plus, if I divide this by 2, then it's 7, so plus 7. And my next part, what can I factor out here? I could take a 5 out of both of those because they're both divisible by 5, and that's it. So 4x, 35 divided by 5 is 7, plus 7. And we know we must have done it right because these two are both the same. So I'm going to pull out the 4x plus 7, and leaving me with 2x squared plus 5. And that would be your final answer. In this next example, we have an x to start out with in every single term. So we know we can do some factoring before we do the factoring. So I have 4x to the fourth minus 8x cubed plus 12x squared minus 24x. So I'm going to start by factoring out what I can before I even do anything. So it looks like I can take out a 4, 4, 4, and 4x for all of them. So that'll give me 4x times x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3x minus 6. Okay, so now I can do my grouping. And I have 4x on the outside. Then I'm going to factor out here. So I can factor out a x squared. So I'm going to factor out my x squared, leaving me with x minus 2 plus what's next. Of this next one, I can factor out a 3. So I'm going to factor out my 3, leaving me with x minus 2 And again, I now know that's correct because I have an x minus 2 and I have an x minus 2. So that's going to leave me with 4x, x minus 2 times what's left, x squared plus 3. So my final answer is 4x times x minus 2 times x squared plus 3. And that is your final answer. And my last example here, I have 6x to the fourth plus 9x cubed plus 12x squared plus 18x. So I'm going to look at what I have in common with everything. That would be an x and a 3. So I'm going to factor that out, giving me 3x times, when I divide that out by 3, I'm left with 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 6. Okay, so here's where I'm going to do my grouping, leaving me with a 3x, and I'm going to factor out an x squared. That's all I can take out, leaving me with 2x plus 3. And then of the next one, what can I factor out? I can only factor out a 2, leaving me with 2x plus 3. And that makes sense because now I have the same thing that I've left from the factoring, leaving me with a 3x times 2x plus 3 when I pull that out, times x squared plus 2. So my final answer is 3x times 2x plus 3 times x squared plus 2. And that is your final answer. So those are your notes over factoring by grouping. Make sure you're comfortable with all these forms of factoring and how you can factor out before you start the grouping process, or you can just start right in by the grouping process. And then you should be ready for your quiz over this material.